Hello, my name is Jess and I am one of the perinatal and under-1 workers for the East Hertfordshire Family Centre Service, and welcome to part 2 or 3 of our series of videos of me introducing solid foods. So I'm going to be answering all of our main commonly asked questions we get here at the Family Centre Service. And this video, part 2 or 3, I will be explaining some different ways of preparing food, some little meal ideas to try, also how often to introduce this food to your baby, and also a little bit of information about when to introduce a cup and a spoon. So the first foods you may want to introduce to your baby, you may want to puree them. Just to start off with, just to see how baby takes to having food, because it's the texture is very different to the milk that they are used to. So puree foods, and then we want to very quickly try and move on to more mashed consistency, and then building up to lumps as well, as this helps them just progress more on their introducing solid foods journey. As adults, not many foods we have are pureed, so trying to move quite quickly to the mashed consistency and then a lumpier consistency just helps to move them along that journey a little bit quicker. And also offering finger foods. So finger foods are perfectly fine to introduce to babies from 6 months. So introducing the food maybe in finger form and also puree form just provides another opportunity for baby to see the same foods but in different textures, because it will feel different if it's pureed or in a finger form. So they are like kind of the 3 main ways of preparing food, and it's kind of just go by what how your baby is with it. So you may feel more comfortable starting with a puree, and if they're handling that very well, then you may like to move on. Or again, you may introduce some finger foods from 6 months and think, okay, baby isn't quite ready for those just yet. So you may kind of go back to trying some pureed and then try and move up again with it. So they're just some of the ways of preparing the food. Just one thing to kind of be mindful of is when we're providing finger foods, we want them to be long enough that they protrude from baby's fist. So if baby's holding the finger food, that there is enough protruding over the top, so they've got that space to hold and bite nicely. So that's just a way of preparing different finger foods. And if you're going to be using vegetables, it's a nice idea to just, especially when they're little and they've not quite got teeth yet, just to part boil the vegetables first, just so they're not too hard, but then they're also soft enough that baby can have grip onto them and take a bite. Because if they're too soft, then they're just going to mush as well when baby picks them up. So moving on to some more meal ideas. So when you first introduce the foods, just these foods individually is absolutely fine, and then you may want to start kind of mixing some. So you may like to boil a few vegetables together and then blend or mash these together to create a meal for your baby. And again, trying to mix some vegetables with maybe a little bit of fruit, just to make it like a little bit sweeter and more enjoyable for baby, but the main source of the meal will still be vegetables. So a nice idea may be broccoli, peas and a little bit of pear. So you'd want the ratio to broccoli and pea to be slightly higher, and then a small percentage of pear. So you could boil these all up together and then either blend or like mash them together once they have cooked and they're soft. And then it may just make the food a little bit more enjoyable for baby, as it's got that little bit of sweetness from the pear. But again, it's mainly vegetables, so it's still very nutritious for them, and it's not too sweet, so they're unlikely to kind of then gain that kind of sweet tooth and want to go towards more sweeter foods. So you can just be creative when creating these meals for baby. So try different combinations of different fruits and vegetables together and see kind of what baby likes, and then move on to more realistic adult meals. So things like a spaghetti bolognese, if you're having one as a family, you can take a portion separate before you add anything like salt, and anything you add, kind of take a little portion beforehand, and then you can either like blend or kind of mash up that version, so baby has their portion. So all of those things are absolutely fine for baby to have as well. And again, things like breakfast, just like how you would make your porridge, you can just make baby a smaller version, just so they can try the consistency of like kind of oats in a porridge as well. And you may want to kind of introduce a little bit of banana with that as well. That could be either kind of all mashed in as well, or as a finger food on the side. So you can just kind of have a play around, be creative, and kind of just mix things really, and see what baby likes. So it may be easier if you think about what meal you're having for breakfast, lunch and dinner one day, and just taking a portion of that aside for baby, and giving them that. It's going to save time, so you're not cooking two separate meals, and it just gets baby used to having a wide variety of foods, and different tastes and textures as well. So again, going on to a range of variety of foods, you do just want to be introducing a range of finger foods and lumps and textures for baby. So providing food in lots of different forms, so puree and finger food, and then as they move on, start to make it more mashed and lumpier, just so there's textures there for baby to work with. And then it just helps them to develop and move on with their introducing solid foods journey as well. So moving on to how often to introduce these foods to your baby. So when we are first introducing solid foods, you can just pick one time of the day, and that can be any time, whatever works best for you and baby in your daily routine. And then stick to that time of the day. You can change it if you find it doesn't work, that's absolutely fine. And then around the 7 to 9 month mark, we would say start to introduce 3 meals a day to your baby. This is just to get them into a routine of having 3 meals a day, and it's providing them with more opportunities to explore more tastes and textures, and just taste different foods really, and start then slowly building up to having larger meals, as they are then going to slowly move on from milk to food as they get older. So that's closer to the 1 year mark. So it's a very wide range when you think about when to introduce those 3 meals. So there's no set time. It's when your baby's ready, and all babies are ready at different times. Some may move on to wanting 3 meals a day sooner than others, and that's absolutely fine. So just go by your baby's needs and how they are finding having solid foods, and just go by what your baby is communicating there. And then so it's between 7 to 9 months we'd recommend introducing the 3 meals. And then lastly, in this second video out of 3, I'm going to just talk about when to introduce a cup and a spoon. So you can introduce a cup and a spoon from around 6 to 7 months. We'd recommend an open top cup, so baby can learn to hold like the handles of the cup, and then they learn that control of sipping the water as well. If it's open top, they will probably spill a little bit down themselves to start off with, but it would just be water, and that's absolutely fine. It just helps them to progress and learn that motor skill of using a cup from an early age, and their control will develop a lot quicker as well than if it was going to have a lid. So just an open top cup is very good for progressing with their development from an early age. And then also a spoon, they quite like to hold a spoon. They may tap it on their high chair, and they may throw it on the floor. It's all part of the experience. It's them learning what it is, how to use it. So yes, introduce a spoon and the bowl around the same time. It's up to you if you're kind of going baby led or adult led, but it's quite nice for you to have a spoon and baby to have a spoon, and then you're role modelling how to use that spoon as well. So thank you for listening to part 2 or 3 of our Introducing Solid Foods series. If you have any other questions about introducing solid foods to your baby, then please do get in contact with us at the Family Centre Service, and one of our perinatal and under one workers will be happy to help. Thank you, bye.